Most people assume that choosing to be alone means someone is lonely, antisocial, or emotionally distant. But psychologically, that assumption is often wrong. Many people who choose solitude are not running away from others. They're protecting something inside themselves. Being alone isn't emptiness for them. It's relief. It's quiet after too much noise. It's space to breathe without expectations, judgment, or emotional pressure. And while society constantly pushes connection as the ultimate goal, psychology shows that choosing solitude can be a conscious, healthy decision made by people who understand themselves deeply. Here are 5 psychological reasons why some people consciously choose to be alone. 1. You learn that being around people often costs you your peace. For many people, social interaction hasn't always been neutral or comforting. It came with pressure to explain yourself, adjust your personality, hide your mood, or manage other people's emotions. It came with pressure to explain yourself, adjust your personality, hide your mood, or manage other people's emotions. Over time, your brain starts associating people with tension rather than safety. Psychologically, this creates a clear comparison. When you're around others, you feel drained, misunderstood, or slightly on edge. When you're alone, your body relaxes, so you choose the option that feels calmer. This doesn't mean you dislike people. It means you've noticed that many interactions require emotional labor, listening, reassuring, performing, tolerating, and you don't always get that energy back. Being alone feels peaceful because no one is demanding access to your emotions. No one is misunderstanding your silence. No one is asking you to be more or less than you already are. Eventually, peace becomes more valuable than belonging. 2. You've been disappointed enough times to stop expecting emotional safety from others. People who choose to be alone often didn't get hurt once. They got hurt repeatedly in small ways. They shared something personal, and it was ignored. They showed up for others who didn't show up for them. They trusted someone who minimized their feelings. Psychologically, disappointment teaches caution. After enough emotional letdowns, the mind stops expecting people to handle vulnerability with care. So instead of constantly hoping someone will finally understand, you lower expectations and distance. Being alone feels safer because there's no risk of being misunderstood, dismissed, or made to feel like you're too sensitive. It's not that you don't want connection, it's that you no longer want to gamble your emotional well-being on people who may not protect it. Solitude becomes a controlled environment, predictable, quiet, and emotionally safe. 3. You have a strong inner world and don't need constant stimulation and psychologically. Many people who choose solitude are deep thinkers. They process internally, they reflect, they replay conversations, analyze emotions, and think about meaning. Because of this, silence doesn't feel empty, it feels productive. While others feel uncomfortable being alone with their thoughts, you feel most like yourself there. Your mind is already active enough, you don't need noise, constant conversation, or social validation to feel engaged. In fact, too much interaction can feel overwhelming because it interrupts your mental flow. Being alone gives you space to think clearly, feel fully, and exist without interruption. You don't feel bored. You feel regulated. This is why people like you often prefer one-on-one conversations or meaningful connections over group settings. It's not antisocial behavior. It's a different way of processing the world. 4. You learned how to rely on yourself emotionally. A music? Maybe. You learn not to rely too much on others. Many people who choose to be alone had to emotionally grow up early. Maybe no one really asked how you were. Maybe you learned not to rely too much on others. Maybe comfort wasn't consistently available, so you adapted psychologically. This creates strong emotional independence. You learned how to self-soothe, self-reflect, and self-regulate. Over time, you stopped needing constant emotional support from others because you became your own safe place. This doesn't mean you don't value relationships. It means you don't feel incomplete without them. You're not alone because no one wants you. You're alone because you don't depend on people to feel stable. And once someone reaches that level of independence, they become very selective about who they allow into their life. 5. You'd rather be alone than feel lonely around people. This is one of the strongest psychological reasons. They've stayed in connections that felt emotionally empty, so they made a decision. Some people feel lonelier in the wrong company than they do by themselves. They've been in rooms full of people while feeling invisible. They've laughed in conversations that didn't feel real. They've stayed in connections that felt emotionally empty, so they made a decision. Instead of forcing themselves to belong, they chose honesty. If a connection doesn't feel genuine, they step back. If someone doesn't truly see them, they don't chase. Being alone feels more honest than pretending. Psychologically, this shows emotional maturity. You're not avoiding people, you're avoiding emotional disconnection. You're waiting for connections that feel mutual, safe, and real. And until then, you choose your own company because it doesn't make you feel small. If you relate to this, understand this. Choosing to be alone doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It usually means you've learned what drains you and what protects your peace. You stopped forcing connections that didn't feel right, and you chose honesty over constant company. This doesn't mean you'll always be alone. It means you're more selective. You're no longer willing to trade emotional safety for temporary closeness, and until the right connections show up, you've learned that your own presence is enough. Sometimes choosing to be alone isn't about isolation. It's about self-respect. If you want more psychology insights that help you understand yourself on a deeper level, hit that subscribe button, because the next video might reveal something about yourself you've never been able to put into words.